There we go. That's better. I wanted to get a little further away.
Alrighty, well.
Wanted
I
to
almost
get away
said Merry
from you.
Christmas.
That's what I was wanting
I'm
to
jumping
tell you.
ahead.
Well, you were the one that didn't want to jump ahead not a day ago, so.
It's the day after Thanksgiving, and we don't care anymore. Which is why you're getting a glimpse of a screen from 2008.
What does that have to do with
Who's seen
anything?
this in a long time?
Well, okay.
We got a spreadsheet.
I
and we
will
got the
defend
Zoom
this
software.
because I got you on this kick. I feel like I was partially
so
responsible
everyone
for this.
direct your hate mail.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, stick it in. I am an American.
So I decided, well, we'll get into why. Let's talk about holidays. You like
well,
Thanksgiving? I like Thanksgiving.
I like Thanksgiving. It's been, sure.
That was just full of conviction.
Yeah. It's complicated now. I think as you add more people to the family and or you start stepping out on your own in the case of people that are maybe aging into young adulthood, the traditions change and obviously, patterns and things of that nature, and people get freaked out about it, and it's weird.
Have you ever wanted to take a big solid munch on a cinnamon stick?
Like right now?
Well, because I'm telling you, I like those, like the wafer straws with chocolate in them. Those are like I love those as like a snack candy thing.
Sure.
And this kind of reminds me of that. And it looks like the kind of thing that should taste really good, but I know mentally that like if I took a bite of this, it would suck. Not only because it would be really hard, but even the part that's been soaking.
It's just kind of.
No, I mean, it would. I think it would hurt my teeth. Even the part of this that's been soaking in the drink would probably not do me any good. But I am still like it's conflicting.
Yeah, we're drinking wassail right now. Seasonal.
This bothers me because the name wassail. The only thing that comes to mind is that weird cracker-like bread stuff that people on diets eat.
What?
There's a type of like weird ultra diet bread that's called wassail. I don't know if it's spelled the same way, but it's pronounced that way.
What?
Why not just call this cider? I mean, it's not exactly cider, but it's close enough that if you called it that and I had it, I wouldn't question you.
Somebody that knows the distinction ought to speak to that because I'm not really sure. I always grew up.
I just made it.
Well, no, I mean, I grew up making it with my family, but, well, let me maybe qualify that statement slightly. I grew up for the first 5 years of my life, maybe 4 years of my life, making it with my family, and then we stopped. But I made it again this year because I figured, forget it. Whether my family continues the tradition or not, I'm going to. So, there you go. It's good. I'm still tweaking the recipe.
Surprised.
I'm still tweaking it. I'm not overly happy with it. The one thing I did adjust about the recipe is I added a little bit more sugar and quite a bit more clove.
Hurts. I don't know that I know what cloves taste like on their own.
That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever tasted.
I don't really know what any of those
straight up
things
raw
taste.
clove. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what nutmeg tastes. I mean, cinnamon's the only thing I know what it tastes like. I'm already done with my drink. No, come on, holidays. Let's enjoy the spirit.
Well,
I've eaten so much food. There's no spirit.
This wassail would be great with some.
Well, it's your fault. You didn't add any.
Yeah, that's true.
You could have really just pulled a massive surprise on it, except no one but us drank it, so you would have been like, ha-ha, and everyone would have been like, we didn't have any.
Well, that actually played to our benefit.
No, because then it would just be our fault. If you snuck it in and it was like, ha-ha, you've all had it, then they'd be able to be like, I don't know.
Multiple.
I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna get up because I have to get up to the punch bowl we brought into the room for this
multiple
of
these wassail recipes actually called for bourbon, which is interesting because you'd think that this would go better with something a little bit more apple intensive. Like I feel like almost like a juniper. No. I know. I was gonna say wow, the name is escaping me. Your favorite. Oh, like a juniper gin, I feel like would go better with this than. Well, sure, but well, yeah, no, he was saying that it doesn't have any apple in it, which is true, but juniper I feel like would function well with apple. Oh, I know. I'm just saying it's odd that a corn-based...
Okay, I'm back.
A corn-based would be something that people would recommend for it. I imagine just because of the sweetness, maybe, but still.
Well, how much does bourbon actually taste like corn is the real question.
Well, I suppose that's true. I'm not suggesting it tastes a ton like corn. It's not like it's a rye, specifically. But
Rye doesn't have corn in it, so no, it wouldn't taste like that. I've been off the mic this whole time. No one's hearing me say any of this. We're going to cut all that because then I just get to... No, I'm just going to keep it and you'll look like you're talking to yourself.
Well, that's...
Anyways, this is...
I do talk to myself
I call
at
this
times.
I'd call this a success as someone who wasn't planning on it. Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, well, I honestly, I'm surprised that you were as fond of it as you were.
Well, I'm a fan of cider. I like cider.
Well, sure, but I mean...
And this is like a sort of bougie cider.
That's true. So I toned it down, and well, maybe I classed it up a little bit because what I grew up with was cider that was essentially made with this in a similar fashion, but we added like boxes upon boxes of Red Hots, which is what made it.
I can see that working.
It does. I mean, like, I added a box of hot tamales, but it was not the same. Like, that to me was more like, okay, that gives it a little bit of heat and kind of something.
Red Hots are a very unique flavor.
Yeah, Red Hots are a little bit different, but they're. I mean, I remember my father literally adding like I think it was like 6 boxes. It was like the entirety of the crock pot was.
Then we put in a whole jug of Fireball.
It actually would maybe be good.
I don't think so, but you're free to try that. The other thing I want to do with my cinnamon straw is to actually use it as a straw, but it isn't sealed. It's like it's more of a curly Q. It's not actually a solid circle.
I'm not a fan of Fireball personally.
I've never had it. I don't think I want to, except if it was like for a joke. Because that seems to be all it's for. Why else is the only place you can get them at gas stations?
Well, I suppose that's true.
Well, anyways, I like Thanksgiving. I like to eat. I like the food.
Have you ever been to a Thanksgiving that you're like, man, none of this food really works?
Well, okay, if it's just about the food, I mean...
What else is Thanksgiving about?
Well, I mean, I've had Thanksgiving.
I mean, that sounds really.
We did Thanksgivings
harsh,
back when we were overseas, and we were at our international school. They would have like the whole school get together for the Thanksgiving because it was all Americans in a foreign country, so it was the only place you could celebrate it. Really,
they were all American rejects.
And it's just like, I do not like that scale of an event for anything, much less for a holiday. Like, I remember the one year we didn't go to the big school event. We just had Thanksgiving at home, and I was like, oh, I like this so much better. I'm eating, it's better food. But it's also just like, I don't want to sit on a plastic chair, on a plastic fold-out table with a plastic paper tablecloth. Like, this just feels like a school lunch. This doesn't feel like a holiday. Okay, wow. Could you at least let the thing drain before you go sloshing it all over my desk?
Did it hit your desk?
It's certainly dripping off the side of your cup.
Okay, well, I didn't intend for that to happen.
Well, that's the problem.
Now you're talking to yourself.
I am. At least I'm talking about something not incriminating.
What?
I really appreciate that half-hearted wipe you gave with your hand on the desk. I feel so much better now.
Well, there's nothing on the desk. I think you were seeing
Well,
things.
It's certainly on your cup, which means it's about to be on my table in my bookshelf.
Okay.
Anyways, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. I like that whole bracket. Those are like the big holidays for me. So this time of year is kind of like fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be festive, but I'm not.
I'm also a reserved individual. I don't think anyone would be surprised by this at this point, which is why I do prefer, like, let's not make it a massive ordeal. Let's just have it at home with
What's interesting
small
is I'm
group.
less reserved than you, but I would say it bothers me to no end only because I grew up with this, to invite random strangers over to your house. Like, the whole notion of, like, this person doesn't have a place to go for Thanksgiving. We should invite them over. I'm like, no.
Well, it
sounds horrible, but I'm like, no, it's not my responsibility. Sorry.
I mean, it depends on the relation to them in a way where it's like, okay, if you're I'm trying to think about it because it's like, okay, if I was, I mean, again, this is exactly what we used to do when I was overseas because you kind of had to. It's like no one has really a home to go to.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But if it was, I could imagine it if it was like, okay, well, I was going to say like if someone's new to the neighborhood or something, but that's a very old school notion. I'm trying to think of like if you had someone who moved out of state for a like he's a colleague and he just started at work and he's moved out of state and it's like, that would feel a little awkward because I don't know. I feel like it would have to be someone with whom you have at least enough reason to think you would have a relationship, which is awkward. Like, I don't know if that makes sense because just random guy, like even random guy starting at work, I'd be a little hesitant to invite over. But if it was like, if it was someone that you knew you were going to be working very closely with, even if you didn't know them that well yet, it makes sense as a gesture of like for our future working together.
But there are so many.
But the awkward thing about that is
the typical thing is like, oh, invite the rejects or invite the kind of social outcasts and they're just obnoxious people.
Wow, it's a quote. It's from the Gospel of Judas. Everyone, let's crack open our heretical Bibles.
Night. That was harsh.
Well, I mean, you're kind of. I don't think Christ loved everyone he ate with. I think he did it because he needed to, not because he was just like, "Hey, you guys are real great to be around."
I'm not suggesting you have to do this every day.
As a matter of fact, the Bible is quite clear that Jesus was a little bit. He was not always entertained by the people he had to deal with.
Well,
sometimes he was like,
the rancor I don't think is necessary.
Sometimes he was just like, these poor people. I guess I got to help them again. Well, I was looking for some quiet time, but I guess no.
To me, Thanksgiving isn't that. It shouldn't be, at least.
Well, I mean, I would say,
like, I agree because I would doing that on most days of the week. You know me. I'm like, sure, I'll pick you up when you're on the side of the road.
Yeah,
even though it's inconvenient
I mean, it's
for
just
me.
there's
like,
something because then the issue then is that you're making it everyone else's problem. So if it's just you, like,
what do you mean?
Well, because now if you're inviting them to your family Thanksgiving, it's like, hey, now all of my family has to deal with this person. So it's not just like I guess that's what I mean when I say it would be someone you'd have to know well. Like it would have to be someone with whom your whole family could feel at least a moderate sense of like connection. Not just like here's a guy at work who doesn't have anyone to go home to. Right, you guys don't know him. Now Thanksgiving's going to be awkward. If it would have to be like, again, almost I take a sort of quaint 1950s view of like he's new to the neighborhood and he doesn't have family in town. So there's a slightly more communal aspect than just here's my charitable deed and you all have to deal with it.
At all.
No, community and communism are two different things. We can't seed the ground the communists.
I'm not suggesting they are. I was making a joke. Anywho. Yeah, Thanksgiving's good. I have been to certain Thanksgivings where I'm like, this food is not good.
I'm not a picky eater. That's what's funny about me is as much as everyone teases, it's like, oh, I like making fancy food and like I like good food. I'm also not at all picky.
Yeah, but
which is odd.
That true for like the best, like people that know.
I don't know. Gordon Ramsay seems picky.
Sure, but he'll eat anything. He just will tell you it's trash. Once
yeah, but see, I won't do that. I'll be like, yeah, it's fine. It's not the best thing I've had, but it's food. I mean, something has to be really gross for me to be like, I'm not going to eat this. And because I mean, I like boxed mac and cheese. It's like I'm not going to turn that away just because it's boxed mac and cheese. Have I had much better mac and cheese? Obviously.
Sure.
But I mean, you'd have to make some janky mac and cheese for me to be like, I won't eat this.
I don't even know you wouldn't put in mac and cheese to make it janky.
Well, I don't know. I mean, okay, the worst time I don't know why we're on mac and cheese. The one time that I was disturbed by mac and cheese wasn't even that it was boxed mac and cheese, because I'm pretty sure that was what it was. It was that I had boxed mac and cheese at a restaurant.
That does bother me.
I was like, okay, I ordered a side dish of mac and cheese, and this literally just came out of a box, and it wasn't prepared well out of a box. Like, I could have, not only could I have made this at home, because I have this at home, I would have probably made it better at home, because this was clearly like someone made 6 boxes of this at once, and it's been sitting on the stove all day. So I was like, not only was it not great mac and cheese, it was like a not even great version of not great mac and cheese at a restaurant.
When you got
Like, again, if I was at somebody else's house and they served me that, I'd be like, well, okay, this isn't great, but I'll eat it.
That's the worst kind of mac and cheese.
But it's like, I paid for this from a restaurant. Anyway. Well, is that enough? Is that all the holiday cheer you have in you?
Maybe.
I haven't decided yet.
No, I mean, New Year's to me is just an extension of Christmas, in my opinion.
It kind of is, but it's a different... Mostly, when I say that they're my favorite holidays, it's mostly that they're my favorite traditions to do.
The whole New Year's thing,
for
me, it bothers me with people making resolutions because I go, this is something you should have been doing throughout the year.
I mean, it's... I don't have issues with it. I've never actually done it myself because the fact that it's a well-known joke that, like, nobody ever follows through on them, it's like, well, then why is it what's with the pretense?
Right.
Why not just... Well, I mean, on one hand, I think, why not just follow through with them? It's like, genuinely, there is something psychologically useful about this is a convenient break point to try to begin something new.
Sure.
But it's more the thing that I think you would be very silly to say, well, I want to start doing this, but I'll wait till New Year's to try. That, I think, is dumb. I
think the thing that bothers me about it is that in order to get into a growth mindset, you have to understand that each moment and each day, but to a greater extent, each moment, you have an opportunity to be the better version of yourself than you could have been, a moment ago. And the whole idea of a New Year's resolution is like, oh, I'm starting fresh, blank slate kind of a thing. And the point is, you can't start over.
No, you can't start fresh. You just have to start.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it bothers me because there is this notion that people have, like maybe it's moving or changing jobs or whatever, where it's like, I'm going to be a brand new person. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to have to struggle through the same things.
I mean, you're going with you is the...
Right. That's exactly... Who says this?
No, I'm just saying that's like,
you're not from you.
You're not getting away from yourself.
Well, and that's it.
You're changing some other circumstances, but you're still going to be there, and you're most of your problems.
Right. You have to adapt and morph and...
There is still, I think, a valuable psychological... I'm one of these people who I like my separation.
Right.
Like, I don't like working from home, which is a lot of people today are like, oh yeah, working from home is great. And I'm like, I hate it. Because home is like, I actually feel like it sullies the home to work in it.
100%, yeah.
And that's because I am very much I want the office to be the place because that's where all the bad energy is.
Right.
And then when I come home, I'm not there. Whereas if you have to work at home, it's like now this is all just one big mess of... There's no psychological break throughout the day of...
Right.
Because as much as I don't like my commute home, it is at least useful to be like, this is the buffer period of transitioning from one headspace to a different headspace.
It's a bit of a spire kind of a thing, or what is it called?
I don't know what that means. So
it's essentially what the Israelites used to do, where they would like create this
like a marking
like
stone thing.
It's a bit of, so in that sense, I understand what you mean. My point is,
don't rely only on that, but it is useful, is all.
Yes, it is useful, and it does,
because there's an energy involved with things changing, anyways. So it makes it easier for you to change voluntarily.
Yes.
Because if a change has been imposed on you semi-involuntarily, because life sometimes throws things at you, then it is also like, okay, if I'm in a space of adapting to new things already, so adding one more thing to adapt to it's better to do that in this period than to try to do that when I'm in a sedentary period.
Maybe.
But again, don't just wait on that, because if you're going to have to show up just as much. It's
That's
not like it's going to happen
What you just said is it. It's you have to show up just as much. People act like, oh, because it's a New Year's resolution or it's a new year, because I'm a new me now, and they have this kind of...
Rousseau really screwed all of us for the 20th century, didn't he?
But the notion of like,
we'll
I'm going to be able to
later.
Unpack it in just a second. But the idea of I'm going to be able to just all of a sudden magically go into the gym and not have a problem. It's like, no, again, like you said, you're still going to have to put in the work. It's still going to be just as hard as it was the previous year. You can now use this moment as a line in the sand or whatever it may be for you, whether it's working out or eating better or, not talking about people like you shouldn't or whatever it is. But the point is, you have to put on the new version or intend to shape yourself. And for the first little bit, it does feel like you're cramming yourself through a hole that isn't the right shape for you. But until you make
because you have
right
to change the shape.
Well, exactly. And I think some people, honestly, I've heard so many people that are like, well, why are you trying to change yourself to this or that? And I'm going, but that's not a bad thing.
Because I want to be that way.
Right. And when people go, well, but that's disingenuous to yourself.
It's Rousseau.
Like, no,
Everyone thinks that you're just a disembodied blob floating around, and it's only because of random temporal nonsense that you're stuck where you are.
Yeah.
That's a very loose but I mean, Rousseau was basically the idea that, like, the mind and the will could supersede all other realities, and it's like, that's just BS. You can't.
Right.
Sorry. Like, just because you say something about yourself doesn't make it true about you, because your body is as much you as your mind is.
Right. And
you are only in your body because it's, I mean, some people think that literally it's like, well, I'm just this sort of platonic disembodied soul, and it was just misfortune that stuck me into this flesh prison. And so what I need to try to do is rebel against reality to such a degree that my will is, I mean, this is ultimately where all the bad philosophies of the 20th century come from.
Sure.
Is from Rousseau. It's this notion of,
then
I can deny reality.
All kinds of things.
I can deny reality by the sheer force of will.
Right.
And thus that makes it true. That just because I say it about myself,
well,
and it's
the
like
point that it's even been miscast, then even is like, oh, that's enlightenment or some sort of higher plane. You're going, no, it's not.
No, because even the Taoists would be like, well, no, you can't. You got the spirit, but you're still off base.
Well, and I think that's the sentiment for me is you absolutely can change who you are and become something different than what you were before, but you have to recognize that is a moment by moment process, not a.
Well, you also have to recognize that your physical embodiment is just as much of a limitation of yourself as what you perceive your mind to be.
What do you mean?
As in, there's to get Taoist on you, essentially, you have to acknowledge, and because this is what's weird, is that it's not, you're not wrong in saying that it's quasi-enlightenment, but it's not true enlightenment.
Well, that's my point.
Because the ultimate sort of the Taoist principle would be that to recognize your own sort of the fact that the ego doesn't exist and that it is essentially just an illusion, that makes people think, well, then I can control the illusion, and therefore the illusion becomes the new reality. And it's like, well, no, you have to recognize that it's an illusion, which means that it's not real.
Right.
And it's essentially the notion of what defines you is essentially you are a blank hole in space, and the thing that defines you separate from someone else is that they're a separate blank hole in space.
Right.
Their blank hole in space is at a different geographic location and time than yours.
Right.
You are defined by the space around you, which means your body is just as much a definition of you as the empty space you perceive yourself to be.
That is one of the chief philosophies of Wing Chun, believe it or not. Because one thing...
Ain't even practiced it, and I'm a master.
But I mean, like the whole principle of two things in space occupying...
Yeah.
Or two things in
it's all Alan Watts. He knew it.
The same space. It can't happen.
No one's ever seen a color that wasn't shaped. No one's seen a shape without color.
And...
Thanksgiving.
No, I mean, well, that obviously worked.
Boy, wouldn't have been fun to have these conversations around the table. I think everyone would have just been like, "Can we please talk about something else?"
Well, that's what's tragic, isn't it? We need to bring back the smoking room. I'm telling you.
You can fight that battle. I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, but I mean, the notion. I don't know why it almost.
Because those who couldn't hang felt bad.
Well, but it's not just that, because
and we are a minoritarian society that must kowtow
feel like
to the weakest amongst us.
People act like it's a misogynistic notion, but it's like, no.
If a woman can hang, she can hang.
Yes, 100%. That's my thing. If you want to have this conversation with us, then great.
But we are going to have the conversation. We're not just going to welcome you in and then not have the conversation.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
That makes me uncomfortable. We shouldn't have that conversation. Get out.
Okay. Drawing rooms down 2 floors. Drawing rooms 2 doors down.
Exactly.
All right. Zune. I'm going to start editing things.
Yeah. Well, let me quickly preface this by saying I got the Zune partially inspired, I think, maybe by the kind of cultural renewal.
Just say you were a big fan of the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was, and the kind of when the culture readopted this as more of a ironic throwback, I was like, I actually really liked the Zune, and I remember having one and going, this is infinitely better, in my opinion, to the iPod, only because functionally the use that I had. No, for me. The reason why
this
I like
service, I think, is I like the Zune desktop app more. Actually,
the same reason that I like PC computers. It's control. It's you have the ability as the user to do what you want to do.
Well,
and that's
within reason.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it is. That's, I think, been the divide for the longest time between Macintosh and that dates me a little bit and PC, is that there is this give and take of, well, we're going to make sure that nothing gets screwed up and that everything is the best possible experience. Therefore, we're not going to allow you to change much of anything. I mean, I'll be honest, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for this opinion, but iTunes is clunky and cumbersome.
Nowadays, especially, it's gotten worse.
It's gotten really bad.
Because Apple went from, we're giving you the best experience you could possibly have, so we have to not let you fix it because we're curating it to the best of our ability. I think at some point after Steve Jobs died, they went, hey, now that we have the control, why do we even bother trying?
Right.
Because they have to use it. So we could just stop. They're going to use it whether we put the effort in or not. So we just could stop putting the effort in. Maybe. I forgot what the album I'm looking for is.
Anyway, but this is the Zune interface.
I like it actually more.
Maybe I should.
What? Why isn't it?
Maybe I should get more specific, I suppose, with the type of the particular Zune that I.
Did I save that to the wrong spot?
Because I think the Zune 30 is fantastic. The later Zunes for sure didn't do well.
There's the newer Zune that was the actual true competitor to the iPod, which.
The Touch you're talking about?
Yeah,
like
it had more fancy stuff.
The or the iPod Touch, which was more like, it was like but really it was just a reskinned Samsung MP3 player.
Well, aren't they all?
Sure.
We could watch the what's his name?
Well, I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, I know.
What's his name? DankPod's video on the Zune.
Yeah.
I thought I had downloaded this album art, and I had not, so I'm gonna grab it.
I'll admit there is something that's just nostalgic about it for me.
Well, that's why I think this as an opening, just like, hey everybody, it's 2008.
Yeah. We
got a spreadsheet and a Zune software.
Spreadsheet and a Zune software, and behind this is LimeWire, and we're downloading illegally.
I am not doing that now.
Wow.
I wouldn't use LimeWire either.
Why? Morbius is better for you?
I actually don't know what the one. I have a different one for the tablet than I have on the computer, so I'm not sure what I have on the computer. Our internet here is too slow for torrenting, anyways.
Did you ever use Grokster? I've never really.
No, I use LibreTorrent on the Samsung because it was the most recommended app version. There's a different recommended app version for the desktop, but our internet here is so janky that I can't use it anyways. So.
I think the common public stopped trying to do the whole sharing piracy nonsense once Pirate Bay actually got pegged with.
Oh no, but they're back.
Well, I know they're back. I'm just saying.
Well, because the fact of the matter is, torrenting is not an illegal action. Therefore, you can't prosecute because it's simply a means of transferring files.
Right.
So you can't crack down on a quote-unquote torrent site for being illegal because torrenting is not illegal. It's just the distribution of illegal items via torrenting is illegal.
So whoever's putting them onto the torrent server.
So technically, the person distributing and I imagine you for downloading are both equally culpable in the crime. But torrenting itself is not illegal. I actually find there's a meditative quality, and some people probably wouldn't go through all this effort, but I am definitely the kind of person who it's like, I'll go through here, I'll edit the album stuff so that it's right, I'm going to get the actual album art. I mean, I suppose I'm tipping my hat, because if I had acquired these via a paid download, this would all come prepackaged.
Well, yes.
So don't read into why I'm doing this.
Don't download this song.
But I don't want just a bunch of, random blank.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Like the blank icon to show up whenever I'm
You have an untitled file.
Yeah,
with
no, I don't want that. That's kind of dumb.
Yeah,
I want it to at least look nice.
Yeah.
I take pride in my 20-year-old hardware. Anyways, this is me. I've already downloaded all of these, or at least I thought I had already downloaded all of these. I'm going to eventually get to the ones I haven't even categorized, which I actually think is after this point. So right now I'm just doing the easy stuff.
Yeah.
I had to find a not problematic album cover for Halsey's most recent album, which is sad. I haven't had to do that for any of the others. She's a little bit. She's gone a little off the rails.
Not
and
problematic.
It saddens me because it's like it's enough that I'm like I'm not gonna have this on the Zune. That's just saddens me. So I just found another promotional material. I'm like that'll work for now. Buckethead's gonna be impossible to categorize, but we're gonna do it anyways.
Wouldn't it just be kind of an alternative because technically that falls under?
No, he's gonna have his own playlist probably.
Well, I'm not saying playlist-wise. I'm saying genre-wise.
It's heavily rockish, perhaps alternative rock. But this is my process. Literally, I have my big thing. It took me a long time to even get this to accurately reflect because I didn't realize how I'd slipped recently, and I've been adding stuff without actually. Because we had a system of it was literally just a system of different documents for different playlists. And I would have to go and manually add stuff. And then I would have to add, I had a special symbol that I would add at the end to ensure that I had actually added it. So it's like I could see that what I had added, what I hadn't.
Right.
And I apparently gave up on that a long time ago. So there was a whole lot more on here than was indicated by the list. So I was like, it's a clunky way of doing it. A spreadsheet means that I can have it all on here. I don't have to have them separate. I can filter by artist, filter by song, filter by genre, filter by whether it's on the Zune or not. I just like this. This is a much better system, but it did take me a lot of back and forth just to make sure that both of them represented what the other had. And then once I did that, I added a bunch of more stuff, so now I have to do it again. But hopefully we are. But yeah, this is literally it. It's like, okay, going to go through here. I'm going to add the edit stuff. I'm going to see when this was released, what album it was a part of. Released in 2016.
I suppose you will have to credit iTunes with the fact that this is far more labor intensive.
Well, you could if I were following the same procedure, I would have to do this on iTunes as well. If I had bought this from iTunes,
sure,
I wouldn't have to do this.
Yeah.
If I had bought this from any legitimate source, I wouldn't have to do this. But
well, there you go.
I actually could have bought this.
Has labor.
I actually could have bought this, and I should have bought this from Buckethead Store because he's reasonable. He actually has his own. He releases stuff for very cheap at very reasonable stuff. So I
didn't know he had a Bandcamp. That's interesting.
I didn't either, actually. I thought he had his own website. I love Bandcamp. Every artist needs to be on it. I'm actually quite annoyed at how few artists are not on it.
Well, that's
because it's essentially it's like a slightly more legitimate version of SoundCloud.
Right.
Where it's like anyone can have a SoundCloud, but not big name people tend to have Bandcamps because they have bigger distribution outlets. But indie bands and sort of quasi semi-famous bands will have Bandcamps.
Right.
And I like that. I also love, not most bands don't do this, but you can actually set it to be just, pay. You can get this for however much you want. Just donate whatever you think the album's worth and you can get it. Not a lot of bands do that. Reasonably so. I kind of wish they would because I am poor. But in fairness, I do like actually giving money to people who I feel deserve it. I'm not just... I believe, Gabe Newell, of all people, who said that generally pirates are just dissatisfied consumers.
Well, that's a fair criticism.
So it's a little bit like, if you make it easy for me to get this, and I know that I'm giving... That's one of the other things, the reason I like Bandcamp, is that they have the fairest shares. And this is said by bands who sell via multiple platforms. They say, if you really want to support us, Bandcamp's the best, because we get the biggest cut of the Bandcamp profits. Right. And I appreciate that strategy. I like knowing that the band that I like is getting most of the money, not some service who's... how do you even know on Spotify and whatnot where your money's going? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's all going to Spotify.
Yeah.
Is it going even to the bands I like?
I think there's a small percentage that does. I actually am recently
the other thing I like is
that based on my own desire to put stuff out there, so I'm not sure.
The other thing I also like is just I like the kind of give what you feel is valuable model, even in the sense of like I would, because here's the thing. Oh, I guess I'm going to tell on myself. 8 Graves does not, as far as I can tell, sell on any outlet I trust. I wish they did, but they do have a website with a donate page. So I'm just going to be like, hey guys, sorry I downloaded a bunch of songs. Here's $30 for all of them. I would be totally willing to do that because it goes straight to them. Nobody else gets in the middle. And I'm like, I want you guys to have money because I like your stuff. So I don't want to just take it from you.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't want it going to corporations who I don't like.
Well, that's
I want the full size
third party thing is the hurdle that I think really did push piracy to the level of prominence that it is today.
It says it's 1200 by 1200.
Because all of these third party
there we go. Now
started to possess.
I hate streaming just in general.
Right,
the whole stream thing where it's like, and now, well, you could pay us and you can
to you.
But then they even try to pull the rug, which it's like, well, no, you can pay us this amount, and then this will stay on your device as long as you're connected to the internet and still have this app.
Right.
It's like, well, that's not the same thing. What I want is I want to give you money, have you send me the MP3 files. I want to be able to put them on whatever I want. I want to be able to play them through my fridge if I want. And I want you never to be able to get them from me ever again.
There are actually fridges that do that now.
I should be able to have this and have you never touch them. But the idea of like, well, if you lost your internet connection or if you remove the app, then the things you paid for you just won't have anymore. Here's the other fun thing about Buckethead.
You have a larger gripe with that I think needs to be unpacked maybe on a therapeutic level, but
no. Well, I'll tell you what did it. I'll tell you the day that I realized I was going to start doing this is I used to have an iPod Touch. Actually, it might have even been my first iPhone, maybe. But I used to have one of these things. Where did it go? Hang on, where did I put my new album? Oh, here we go. And I had a whole bunch of Billy Joel stuff. I had all my music on my phone. I think it was a phone because it had internet access. And so I was.
iPod Touch did.
I don't think I had one of those though. I think it was when I had official stuff finally. Whoop. I don't think I can play that. Well, it's probably not copyrightable, but I don't want to make Buckethead mad. I like him. Not that I fear he would do anything to me. I don't want him to feel sad. If anything, I just don't want him to feel sad because he might.
He'd probably be like, yeah, that's my stuff. Sorry.
But anyways, yes. And so I owned this music. This was music that I had owned since I was like a kid. I had bought all this stuff and I was on my phone. But I didn't realize that at some point the iPhone had updated to where it would not store your songs on your phone. It would just... like your iTunes app would know the things that belong to you and allow you to stream them for free, but it was still streaming. So I was on a plane wanting to listen to my music, went to the iTunes and went, you don't have anything on here because we're not on the internet. And I was like, hang on, I paid for all these songs. And it's like, sucks to be you. So I was like, okay, I need an MP3 player now because I'm not doing this again.
Enter the zone.
Yeah, I think this was literally the year when I was like, because you had just gotten it, and I was like, hey, I want one of those too because iTunes messes me up.
Well, that's the thing. There is a hearkening back to the old adage that what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. No, I'm just kidding. But the idea that I want the things that I want to possess, and that's it. Leave me alone. We've made our transaction, and now it's over. It's especially in the age of streaming now. You've even made this comment with Netflix or Amazon.
You don't own the thing. You're simply permitted to use it sometimes.
Right. And eventually, it will get to the point that we will start doing this more and more, even with. Like it's going to start virtually, and then eventually it's going to be something that physically is going to take place.
I don't think people are going to accept it if it tries to make that jump.
You don't think so?
Okay, there might be a civilizational split where there will be those who are willing and those who are not.
Well, yeah.
And I think those who are not will be big enough,
hopefully,
of a group.
Yeah.
We'll just have parallel societies of people who live in the real world, and it'll become a Philip K. Dick novel.
But I mean,
you gotta at least admit that
you're already getting there with the whole Meta buying out Oculus Rift and now pushing like, hey,
the thing that no one's using though.
Oh, for sure.
So it's again, that's why I have some hope that it's like, this isn't going to take off because literally no one wants this.
It's only a matter of time before they make it novel enough that people jump ship.
It's already novel enough, and people are still like, nah, it's too much work. I'm not interested.
It's the same reason I got into watches, honestly, because actually putting a wristwatch on your wrist like an old analog versus like you looking at your phone or looking at a digital watch, there came a point that I was just like, no, I want it to be, old school. And they were like, yeah, but battery on this particular watch is better. And I was like, no, even that. I'm like, I'd rather wind up a mechanical
This 100-year-old watch still works.
It's like, yeah, I'd rather.
You can't deny. At least
wind up a mechanical watch or have a.
You gotta love
automatic.
Buckethead's sense of just. I'm gonna call. Oh, yes, this is the album name. You know that no studio got involved with this. There was no. Wait, hang on. Did I already have this? I'm doing this anyways because I think I got a better one. Although this is your YouTube's format, so I'm gonna have to go and edit this. So seriously, this would be way too much tedium for some people, but it's the right amount of tedium for me.
Oh, there you go.
Because it's like.
Now all you have to do is add some sort of ASMRs.
Well, because usually what I end up doing in this is I'll listen to the songs I've just downloaded while finding the information for them.
Which is a bit cathartic.
Yeah, it is. Gonna save it in a nice square thing. I'm just telling you wouldn't get this at a studio today. Buckethead deserves more praise. All right, add that up.
This allows you...
Hang on, where did the albino slug go?
This app, and to a lesser degree, the
Where did
Zune
you go and put it?
context is a dying breed of technology that
I don't think
actually
it's dying.
still gave...
I think it died a little while back, and it's coming back.
It still gave power to the user.
Because it's Tron.
Well...
We fight for the users. Where did my albino slug go? It's not this.
I don't know. I mean...
Where's my albino slug?
That's not unfair, is it?
Well, it's just funny. Okay.
Well, it's funny because it's ironic that we literally made a movie about it in the 80s.
Thank you.
And
Here's my albino slug.
Oh, crap. We're here.
Oh. Okay, that's why it went away. Is because I didn't realize this album already existed. Whoops, that means I ruined the album art. Sorry. Continue.
No, I mean, again, I think the irony is not lost that we made a movie about this in the 80s. It was like, this could happen.
Well, was the whole I fight for the user? I was quoting the most recent Tron because it's the
No, that was a part of the main one too. I mean, it was like the original one too. But that's the whole principle. Is like technology basically starts to outsmart itself, which is...
Well, I think it's actually kind of humorous that the entire premise of Dune literally gets out in the first chapter. It's like, yeah, we already went through the AI dystopia. This is the different dystopia that arises after we've been through the AI. Like, literally, there's a whole chapter dedicated to, all those other AI dystopian novels? Yeah, those have already happened. Here's the future even of those people's AI dystopia.
Like a direct parallel of postmodernism.
Well, basically, it was just like, yeah, all that stuff you've read, that's already happened. The thing you think's your future, now that's the past in this universe. 2018? Well, it's good to know Buckethead's still doing stuff. He's actually kind of getting old now.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he's been making music successfully for a long time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, he's 60 or something.
No, he's not that old.
Yeah.
How old is he for real? You got to tell me right now.
I mean, he may not be 60 yet, but he's getting close. He's older than I thought because, of course, you don't know what he looks like. But I need to check how this is actually spelled.
And knowledge of that right now. I need confirmation. That is not something I choose to accept.
Give me a moment.
I could 40, maybe 45.
Yeah, but I think he was that several years ago now. So,
am I that old?
Well, how long have you been? I was the one who had to convince you to like Buckethead.
I knew about Buckethead before. I said this to you. Buckethead was not
somebody I had. You didn't really know. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, but you didn't really have any opinion, and I gave you an opinion.
Correct, but I knew who he was.
Yeah, I knew who the Beatles were, but you tried to sway my opinion, and I tried to sway yours, and I won.
Because my opinion was a non-opinion.
My opinion was, well, I came in with a little bit more of a bias, but even still, the fact of the matter is, the only Beatles song that I this day like is none of the songs you tried to show me to get me to like the Beatles.
It's surprising, to be honest, but sure.
Why does it... Okay, I don't know why it sometimes opens the really puny version. I think it's just because the internet's being real slow. There we go. Now it's going to open the big one. Anyways, got nothing really to talk about. We're mostly just doing this because we had our music therapy last week, and I've been doing this week. And I thought, let's get... and it's holidays, so I was like, let's do something very easy that'll help me actually keep up with my glut of things I've added that I need to keep up with.
Is there... with what's interesting about the whole notion of contributing to artists that are good is I feel like people... That is the whole reason why 33 records are still
okay, so he's not quite as old as I thought, but he is in his 50s.
Wow, I would not have guessed that.
You wouldn't have guessed it because you don't know what he looks like.
Well, I understand that, but that is remarkable.
6'6". I think I knew that, but here you go. Here's the synopsis for anyone who hasn't heard of Buckethead. He deserves, I guess more. I mean, does he deserve more fame? I mean, he probably does because he's famous.
Yeah, but he
in limited circles.
Himself.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Although he did. It's weird to me that he played for Guns N' Roses for 4 years, but then they kicked him out because it was like, okay, you're too weird for us. Alrighty. If this isn't an advertisement of Buckethead for you, these very bizarre hide in the pickle jar. See, you don't get these. I mean, maybe from like a punk band in the early 2000s, you would have gotten names like this.
Yeah, but they would have done it in an angsty way that was stupid.
Yeah, this is more just in a sort of surreal way that's funny.
No, what I was getting at was the whole subculture of 33 records still being a thing is because people are going to buy music. I don't think I know
who that is, so give us some context.
33s?
I'm talking like...
Yeah, like old LPs. Like,
oh, I thought you said 33 records as if it was like a company.
No. I was meaning like 33s, like as opposed to 45s, which are the smaller ones. But
what are the big ones then?
33s. That's what they're called.
Full-size albums?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
The LPs are called 33s, but the people that buy those, it's because you go, I have such an appreciation for this band that I want the actual, record that's going to play it in the way that I think is
well, and even then,
not only nostalgic, but also, to me, I actually enjoy the sound of a record. And it's not because it's superior. I'm sorry, you can't make that argument.
You have tried before, so...
I have not.
You have tried to me. You did try.
I don't know that I have ever made that argument in the...
Well, and I mean, you're not... Depends on what you mean by better, because it's a loaded term. You can make the argument that it is a higher fidelity because of lossless... like it is a truly lossless form.
But you could make the same argument with like Tube as opposed to modern...
Which you also... What kind of reversals are you trying... No, you also do that.
I'm saying... that's what I'm saying. But then you can't... You have to qualify that because my point is some people don't actually find that to be a better sound.
Oh, yeah. But calling it better is loaded, but saying it's a higher fidelity, that is true.
And I still submit that. But I have come around, I think, to... I don't think it... Obviously, I argued for... both Tube and record being better in that they, again, like you said, they're lossless, maybe is a better way of putting it, but you can't, some people don't care. It
does take a very high quality system to make the most of that, though.
Correct. It's a very,
like my little that thing there is not going to be giving me good quality stuff.
That's very true.
Even though
my system may, but once I get it all connected again. But
I actually like it. Really, it's more of a aesthetic thing for me.
Yeah, there's something...
The funny thing is, all of my like classic 80s stuff I have on the Zune, but all I have for the record player are random classical recordings. I'm like, I'm kind of okay with this being the niche, because that's kind of fun. Because A, those are the cheapest recordings you'll get at a thrift store, because like, oh, Journey, that's going to be $20, which is stupid. But, some random collection of Beethoven's going to be like, these are $2 for their whole thing. So I'm like,
Johann Strauss.
So I kind of like it as a means of like, it's an experience more than just its music. It's like, I like that It's something,
There's
especially
something
because
tangible
there's
about
speakers connect. It's like a built-in record speaker thing. So that's like if I'm cleaning my room, I'll put on that because I don't have to wear headphones. It has there's an aesthetic experience, not just I'm listening to music.
Well, that's what I get at with the whole winding a mechanical watch kind of a thing too.
Yeah, there is an element of forced meditation out of it.
Yeah, it's really, we come back to the tea ceremony.
Well, I would, if I was ever in Japan, I would gladly attend a tea ceremony. I'm not opposed to the concept of it. Some people are like, oh, how old school and, unmodern. And I'm like, what a bizarre...
You credit Japan.
Well, they have a version of a tea ceremony. I'm not saying they invented tea, but like the Japanese tea ceremony is a big deal, even today.
Yes, the Chinese tea ceremony is also.
Okay. I feel like the Japanese is more famous. You can't blame me for thinking that.
Famous, maybe.
If only because Japan has a better rapport with the West.
That's the reason.
Well, whose fault is that? It's not the Japanese.
Okay.
You can't leave me there.
I suppose, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the Chinese proliferated a lot of this before that was brought to the West by Japan, and then they just appropriated it.
I don't know that that's fair. I think that they probably developed their own version.
Yes, after appropriating it from China.
No, they could. Again, two cultures can come up with similar things at the same time.
But we've been over this, though. That's not been the...
No, we haven't.
Historically,
this is the first time we've talked about the tea ceremony.
That is not the case with Japan, though, in many contexts.
Isn't it, though? Because they didn't have much contact with anyone else. Like, they actually were fairly isolationist.
Japan took over and occupied China for a time.
I think you might be getting that reversed.
No, I'm not.
Unless you're talking about World War II. It's like, yeah, okay, 100 years ago.
Yeah, it was ages ago, but still.
No, that's 100 years ago. Before that, Japan was an isolationist country for like hundreds of years. So if you want to talk about like, okay, yeah, in the 500s BC, I don't think that counts.
Well,
because then by that logic, it's like, well, every beer recipe ever is really just ripping off the Egyptians.
I suppose that's an argument.
It's like, yeah, okay, fine. It's 3,000 years ago. These guys invented it. I guess we're all just ripping them off.
Probably had a tea ceremony too.
They probably did.
The Israelites are going,
Okay, I keep thinking I've downloaded the image before I have. But see, there's also something about this that like even less recently, or what am I trying to say? Even less long ago, like even back in the age of physical CDs, you'd have had this level of like, you would have had your dedicated CD tower and you would have organized it in some way. It's like, I grew up with that. Yeah, I didn't as much. I mean, definitely I had CDs, but I usually would buy the CDs so that I could upload them to iTunes.
Right.
It was the easiest legal way of downloading.
Whereas I grew up on the tail end of the era where I actually was making my own mixtapes.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had that experience. But anyways, I'm just saying, this is just my equivalent of me sitting in my room alphabetizing my CD collection.
You know what it does, though? It comes back to a curation thing again.
Exactly. That's the word I love to use.
Well, that's why I used it.
Thank you.
It is. It's an appreciation.
I don't know why it keeps jumping up around, though.
It's an appreciation for being a collector of knowledge and of... I have made this case also when it comes to the way I clean a space, especially in my house, and the way I set up, is there's something zen about saying this is occupying the exact space I want it to occupy.
It's called feng shui.
Well, yeah, but no. Because I'm talking like even with this, like you're organizing things and bringing order and establishing rules and where things go and whatever else. And I just find that to be
feng shui. Wait, I got this wrong.
That's
the album name.
It's soothing to the soul.
Well, it's a little bit. I mean, tidy desk, tidy mind.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a Zen principle.
Bucket hat. I accidentally typed bucket hat, and I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but it was just a funny image.
Similar to the getting pictures of that flashbacks of that weird YouTube channel, The Wizard of...
No one's going to know what you're talking about, but okay.
Yeah.
Red Pepper Restaurant. Now, I don't know. If anyone really needed a glimpse back into the 2000s, I guess that's really what we're giving you here today. You've just welcome, here, have some Kool-Aid. We're going to sit in my room and or alphabetize these records or these CDs I got. If you needed a reason to escape back to 2000.
And we're going to burn one from
that.
iTunes.
Yeah, we'll make a mixtape that we'll play for our upcoming road trip. I like a random song, which I probably am not going to play for copyright reasons. See, now this is the kind of thing you would expect to see from a Buckethead album cover. But it's called...
this video just be like, yeah, we love...
Well, maybe it will. Maybe this will be the one that gets everyone to be like, well, we'll have touched a nerve. Everyone's like, oh, yes, please, a better time than now. But there's this song. It's actually one of the ones I added up here. Or I think I may have already given it its proper stuff.
Oh, did you get the end? I love that one.
By Cody Fry?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Did you know of him before I showed him to you?
Yes.
Oh. You never brought him up to me.
I think he's fantastic.
This guy,
Cody Fry, is a... Did you know that his dad was actually a composer?
That does not surprise me.
Why
I didn't know it, but it's not at all surprising.
He
is also one now too, isn't he?
Correct, he is. But he has such a orchestral kind of feel on a lot of his music because he has that root.
That's not at all surprising. Everyone, do this now because I don't think I can play it for copyright reasons, but find this song on YouTube and listen to it because it's great and it'll fit perfectly with what we're doing. I like this.
Just play it in the background. Oh, you have the full Pictures of Mountains. That is a fantastic
I don't have the full album. I actually only have one. There will be some more.
Oh, have you heard the song Pictures of Mountains?
Yes, that I have that too. I need to add more to it. But I didn't get the full album. I think I have like 5 songs maybe. Yeah, Time Travel Kool-Aid. The reason I like it is because literally it starts, the beginning of the song is, I've been drinking Kool-Aid like I did when I was 9 because I like to pretend that I haven't lost the time. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a mood I can get in with.
You just hit me right in the feels.
And it says I can only have a couple, or it says I have to end the nostalgia though it tastes fine because I can only have a couple because it feels like a lie. I'm like, wow, this song hits hard in the opening. So if you really want to, that's
no punches.
If you really want
you stands no chance.
If you really want your nostalgic trip while we're doing this, go ahead and listen to that.
If you want tears rolling down your cheek.
Anyways. I'm not going to be so snooty as to say that only if you're a true music fan would you go through all this effort, but
no,
I will think it in my head.
Well, but it's a curation thing, though. It's not even just about the music. You would do this with any other context. You know what I mean?
Yes, with such as my bookshelves, and I don't have shelves for my movies, but I do have a similar organization structure for them.
Again, you're just demonstrating.
Well, just because it's I'm a type. I could have sworn I got this one already. Maybe I did. Here's another random hot take for you. If you're interested in pop-ish music like Billie Eilish or Halsey, but really want to be hipster about it, this is your chick. Because she's less...
I don't know that I've actually ever heard...
Yeah, because you're not hipster enough.
Are you finally admitting it?
Well, is it fair? Because, I mean, I won't hide from it if it's really fair. But, like, back a few years ago, it had a different connotation.
That's true.
There we go.
What's the gentleman? His name's escaping me, and it's annoying me because I know him. He's the one that sings "Passing Through."
Caden McKay.
No.
Yes, that is in fact his. Yes, I can assure you that's his name.
I don't think it is.
It is.
Look up "Passing Through" right now.
It's on here.
I know.
Pacing through. Passing through. Caden McKay. Where's his name?
Weird. Don't You Dare is a fan. I didn't know you added that one.
I added these. Well, you haven't been up to date for a long time.
Don't You Dare is a fantastic song.
Yeah, that's genuinely an unironically good song. This is more of an ironically good song. Because it's a goofier song.
Yeah.
It has a positive message, but it tells it in a goofy way on purpose.
The thing that he is good at is communicating.
Well, it's not unlike They Might Be Giants, where it's like, yes, it's goofy, but sometimes they'll hit you with like a line out of nowhere. You're like, oh, okay, I felt that one.
Right. Well, and it's very.
This is, by the way, is the only good Beatles song. Saying it now.
He's very.
I've already done all this. Okay. I will say that my one complaint I have with the Zune software is it decides at a random year what the oldest song you can use is, and I have some like classical. Because I have some classical music that's literally like, okay, this was written in like 1545, and it won't let me go back that far. But I have some classical music like, okay, this was written in 1782. It'll let me go back that far. I haven't determined what the year that it, like the oldest year it will let me use, but it's something obscure. Because it's not just like, oh, it can't be older than 1900. It's like, I can do 1785, but not 1601. So it's somewhere between those two.
No, I was saying
Deb.
I lost my train of thought because you were talking about software now.
The classical stuff I need to. I'm gonna deal with that. I'm gonna deal with that later.
No, he's a wordsmith.
Well, yes, he's definitely clever. He's a poet, I guess, is what you'd really just call him.
Yeah, but I mean, he turns phrases that you use every day.
Well, he has a sort of Owl City-ishness where the rhythm is so weird that he's able to do kind of weird rhymes that you wouldn't be able to do in a very strict rhythm.
Right.
I actually have Owl City's most recent album on here as well, which I think is very good.
I don't know that I've heard that one. Oh, wait.
It's called Cocoa Moon.
Yes, okay, I have heard it.
It's a very good, there's some good stuff on it.
Yep. Did you hear Cinematic? That one was a good album.
Don't think so.
It's a fairly obscure album, honestly, but it's a great one.
As evidenced by me not knowing it.
Just that's the only evidence you need that it's obscure.
it's obscure to me. By definition, that is the correct use of the term.
Well, okay, but you're applying it more broadly.
No, it's obscure because I don't know about it.
Okay.
I want the full-size version, please.
Maybe it's not obscure and you're just late to the party.
That makes me obscure.
Well, I've been trying to tell you.
What is actually this called?
You're a bum bum. That's what you...
I can't type when I'm speaking for some reason. That's a weird thing I can't do.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to get arrested. There's going to be like, we have evidence of you. You're under arrest for 500 counts of illegal activity. Technically, I don't think anything I'm doing now is incriminating. But I probably shouldn't film it anyways, but I am.
So we're doing it for you. Don't give me that attitude. We're doing this all for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't add info for this.
I do...
That's not correct. Oh, that is their official name, isn't it?
Which...
That's a big long name.
I do think that that Cinematic is good though. It's got you've had to have heard some of the ones from
I may have heard
Cinematic.
some of the songs. I don't recognize the name
There's
of the...
one
what was the
called Be Brave that's fantastic. One of the more common ones from that album though, it would be Fiji Water.
You've tried to show me that one. I'm not impressed with that one.
No, Fiji Water isn't my favorite on that album.
Oh, what?
I did like
what?
Be Brave though.
This can't be correct. There's no way this came out this year. I could have sworn I heard this years ago. Well, maybe it was a single that just got added to an album this year. There's no way that came out this year. I could have sworn I heard this at least 2 years ago.
Be Brave, I think you'd actually appreciate from Cinematic. It literally, the first lines are, in the basement of an empty house, I slept on the floor like a vagrant. It's like, that's brilliant.
Why?
Just, it paints a picture. I enjoy...
Okay, well, see, that's... Painting a picture is not inherently the same thing as being poetic.
Oh, I 100% have felt that way.
Okay. Like, evocative and poetic. Like, I appreciate...
Evocative, maybe.
I appreciate eloquence, not just... I guess... Whoop. We're just really giving Buckethead all of our airtime today. I'm more of a fan of clever and poignant, not just...
You'd probably like House Wren then.
Maybe.
But Cinematic is a good album, for sure. Owl City is actually the reason and the inspiration for why I currently have a G8 in my room.
Is that what he uses?
Yes. Well, predominantly. Owl City, I followed his like gear for a long time. I'm a weirdo with... That's another thing I curate.
You're a weirdo. You could have just stopped.
Wow. I'm a curator of like people that I listen to that are actually artists, not bands as much, but I tend to do this with artists such as Owl City, anybody that I find has been like a really core inspiration for me. And Owl City, for a while, I was following all of his gear. There's a website called I can't remember because I haven't used it in a while, but it's basically like gear rundown or rig rundown or something like that, and literally goes through all of the gear that they use in a given season or a given tour, as well as like mainstays in their stuff. And Owl City has been on record multiple times saying most things that he creates are started on the Roland G8, which is a keyboard, a workstation keyboard that's been around forever. It is a monster as far as being so heavy, but it literally can do anything you want it to do as far as sounds. I mean, it's able to it's incredibly adaptable and is amazing. I did
not know that Buckethead was on Bandcamp, so I'm going to have to give him a big donation after all this.
It's got what's interesting I have appreciated about it, and I don't know why I'm on this kick, but I'm going to share about it, is it's got, it's actually got like wooden ivory keys. So it's not just weighted in that, like it gives it some sort of false impression of weight. It actually is a normal keyboard. So it's fantastic. Which allows me to play not just like the kind of synthy stuff as well as the more like, hey, I'm playing a classical piano kind of a thing. But you can actually adjust the sensitivity of how, like, what's a touch response or whatever you want to call it. It's really cool.
Do you think human culture peaked in the 2000s?
No.
Whoa. Wow, Buckethead getting lots of free airtime today. It's like, you wouldn't think it would be that easy to hit that one tiny button every time, but I am. All right. So
yes, right. Accident. Air quotes implied.
Well, I don't think... I mean, if we could just be listening to Buckethead this whole time, I would gladly do that, but I think it's more the copyright issue that I'm having. Oh, was this not on an album? Did you like this album? You haven't told me the album. Unless it was the album also called Sideway Street, maybe? Or Sideway Streets? It was a Pike, that's why. I guess that's just the name of the Pike, then. So I guess we'll stick with that. Well... the question is, do we do this for 2 hours and shift the discussion somewhat, or do we stop now?
I think this is a good place to stop. It's a fairly healthy...
Okay, fine. I thought I'd actually get through more of this. I was doing... Because, we're going slower just because of the discussion. I was doing this last night and ended up staying up for, like, way late. Because it was, like, midnight, and I was like, yeah, I'll do some more of that just so I would get it done. Then I looked over and it was, like, 3, and I was like, oh, gosh. I didn't realize how easy it was to lose time in such a seemingly tedious...
You take the red pill, and I show you just how deep the rebels.
I would have thought that I'd have gotten bored and been like, all right, I need to stop, but apparently not. Again, because that's just how much I like music. That would have been a good place to end, except I'm in the middle of this, so at least let me finish this.
Well...
Sideways. A lot of Buckethead in this. I thought I at least thought we'd get past all the Buckethead. It also didn't tell me
everything
the year.
is Buckethead. Well, I think that's a good...
Eventually, won't it be? I need to know the year of this, guys. One of these have a year. 2015. I don't even know if that's accurate. Seems good enough. Similar to all the rest. So, if you're interested in Buckethead...
Or Zune.
Or Zune. Did I not download it? I downloaded it, I swear. Oh, no, it's probably not. I just got it up and didn't download it. Don't go making issues.
You're the one that's walking into things.
Sideway streets.
Sideway comments.
Well, alrighty. We didn't even actually dive into what this is good for, but I guess it's sort of self-explanatory, isn't it?
Absolutely
What? Get out of here. Paste album, Mark.
Welcome to our.
Hey, hang on.
What is it? Welcome to our.
Why are you not letting me add
our Zune spreadsheet where the columns are made up and the
yes
the labels don't matter.
I want to. Why you've never given me this error this whole time? Thank you. That was weird. Oh, is it because I accidentally copied it? That would be a genius if I could just copy and paste. I didn't realize that would actually work. Because it said paste album art, whereas normally it would say upload. No, it says paste here too. Maybe it's because I still have it copied. That's weird. Anyways, the Zune is better than people remembered it. And since the iPod's dead...
might as well go back.
Well, the Zune is sort of dead too.
The thing is, Microsoft didn't fully hang it. They
iTunes or Apple literally did kill off the iPod very recently because there's like we're just going to stop supporting it. Whereas Zune, it's like
they hung the project, but they don't. They still have support for it. It's just not.
I don't think they have support. Like the software still runs, but you're not going to get updates, obviously.
Right, exactly.
But you'll only be able to get the software from the download disc that comes with the Zune package. So you'll have to buy one used.
Yeah.
Or
one.
I mean, I do have the file.
You don't have one?
I could probably torrent it.
I guarantee that somebody else has already done
I'm sure that somebody already... Well, yeah. Anyways, I don't know. Let's play some Halo. That was the other line of the song. That's the chorus of that song is... And that's what really hit me. I was like, oh, Halo's a retro game now? Okay, so I guess I'm old. You're old. I really am old. Singing about Halo as if it's like back in my day. I was like, what?
Go back and look into the mirror. And
you haven't played Halo in 40 years. Whoa.